Hello and welcome to this ClearBooks demo overview. A little bit later we'll touch on what we'll be showing you around the system, but firstly you probably want to know why ClearBooks. Firstly, we are UK based and we've been around for over 15 years and we're the most simple to use software for bookkeeping and accounting. We are also HMRC recognised as well. If you're a small to medium sized business and you're tired of our competitors, or if you are simply using an Excel spreadsheet and it's time to find a more efficient software, then you have come to the right place. So we'll touch on what we'll be going through in today's demo. Firstly, we'll look at the dashboard, which is a really nice, handy way to see how your business is doing via ClearBooks. Also the settings as well, something which is very handy if you want to switch any particular features on or off. We'll also look at the sales side of ClearBooks as well, so you can create invoice themes and invoices itself, and you can also process quotes if you are a business that likes to send quotes. We'll look at purchases, so be able to create bills on the system, and there's also a really nice handy feature called auto bills, so you can drag and drop any files. You can also email any bills that you receive, and you can download the mobile app where you can take images of any bills, which is very helpful. Then we'll look at explaining transactions, so bringing in any transactions into ClearBooks and matching them to any bills raised on the system or any sales invoices raised on the system. And we'll also look at recording those transactions as well as payments. Plus, if you do need any additional support at the end of the session, then I can show you where you can find any additional help. So let's get started. So firstly, we'll touch on this dashboard. So you'll be able to see at first hand when you do log into the system every time, you'll be met by this dashboard, which has their own widget. As you can see, there's a sales purchases widget, there's a bank accounts widget, and at the bottom there is a nice customized dashboard feature. So you can enable and disable any other widgets. And then if you're happy with these widgets that you like to be shown on the dashboard, then you'll be able to see that here. And you can actually move these widgets around to your choosing as well. We've also got a nice handy bank accounts widget as mentioned, so you might want to bring that up to the top because it gives you a nice oversight on the transactions that there are to explain or reconcile, which we can touch on a little bit later on. Next up, we'll head to settings, organisation, details and tax. So if you do need to edit any of your company information, then you can head to this very page here. On the left-hand side as well, we've got a logo option, so you can upload your logo. And then there's also a tax tab on the left-hand side as well, so you can manage your VAT schemes as well. So here I can enable whether I'm VAT registered or not. So if you are a business that isn't VAT registered and you do become VAT registered, then it's quite helpful to come in here to then enable VAT registration. So you can enter in the type of accounting, VAT scheme, and the dates of when you do become VAT registered, and that will update accordingly. We'll head up to the settings, configure system and toggle features. So this is a really handy place to go to if you do want to tailor your business to any of the features that are available on ClearBooks. So as you can see on the toggle features under major features, there'll be toggles such as expenses if you deal with employees that want to claim any expenses. There's also fixed assets, which comes with auto depreciation. So if you're a business that wants to record equipment, you can switch that on or off. You also have multi-currency as well, so you can switch on multi-currency if you send invoices with different currencies. There's stock product lists and projects as well. So if you want to associate any of your income and expenditure, then you have a projects feature that you can switch on and associate to particular projects, whether that's an event or anything like that. There's also budgets and many other features. There's also a left-hand side tab as well for invoicing features as well, such as discounts, which you can enable, and multiple projects as well, which you can have on an invoice. On the accounting tab on the left-hand side, you'll also see that you can enable the construction industry scheme too. Next up, we'll head to settings, accounting and account codes. If you're new to accounting software, then account codes will be a familiar sight when using ClearBooks. When you record your income and expenditure, you will have to associate any description to a particular account code. If it's income, you might see things listed as revenue or materials revenue. But if it's things like bills that you need to record, then you might see things like travel or rent and rates. On the system, you'll be able to see all of these default sets, including the CIS ones if you do have construction industry enabled on your system. So as you can see, there is a long list already that you'll be able to see when you do open a ClearBooks trial. And you can also tick boxes whether you want these account codes to appear in sales and purchases. And you can create account codes as well, so you can be more specific for your reporting as well. Next, we'll head to sales and invoices. So when we head to that section, you'll be able to see that there is a settings section. Within that, you'll be able to see that there's invoice preferences, which would include things such as a due date on an invoice or bank details to display by default. So that's within there. There's also the invoice settings, which essentially takes you to the toggle features within ClearBooks. And then finally, we have the invoice themes. So if we go into the invoice themes, you'll be able to see all the different color templates available. As you can see, dark orange is set as default as my invoice theme. However, if I wanted to change the theme, I can just hover over the three dots and set that as default. And now you can see that is the selected theme. And then I can change back if I wanted to. I can also choose to duplicate and edit. So I can give the theme name a new name. I can upload different logos to each invoice theme as well. And you can choose a default text for an invoice as well. So instead of having to type up an individual invoice each time you have to put in some text, instead you can just put default text in. And you can also choose to hide or show any items as well, such as the quantities section. So you can choose to hide that if you're a business that doesn't need to deal with stock. There's also a labels tab on the left-hand side. So you can choose different title names instead of just invoice, especially if you send invoices to overseas customers, you can change the language, for example. And if you're happy with the invoice theme, you can just select save. When you're ready, you can then go to sales invoices and create an invoice. In this section, you'll be able to see that there are plenty of boxes. Some of them are mandatory fields, some of them are not. And on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see the customer box. You can enter in a customer name. And you can also edit that customer information as well. So you can include an email, for example. And the more that you add, whether that's via the contacts tab, because you can add customers or suppliers as well within the contacts tab, or you can also import them via a CSV import if you have a database of any customers or suppliers. And that's done via Tools tab at the top, Overview from Import. And then either way, they will just appear on the fly on the customer box, as you can see here. We then have the date on the invoice as well and the due date, which I've set in the invoice preferences. But if you wanted to, you can change the date on a particular invoice when you create one. We also have the reference box, which is free to type. I also have the projects feature enabled as well. So if I have that enabled within the settings, then that box would appear and I can add a project within that as well. Otherwise, if you don't have that feature enabled, then you won't see that box. But you can also add projects as well via the Tools tab and Projects. But you can create one individually in an invoice as well. Other boxes are featured on the invoice when you do go into settings, And you'll also be able to see the theme that you've chosen. The description, again, is another mandatory field, so you would have to fill that in, of course. Then we have the account code, which you can create a new one within an invoice creation, or you can select one from the fly. Then you can put in the unit price. And if you are VAT registered, you can choose the relevant VAT rates. Otherwise, it will say no VAT if you're not VAT registered, but it will take into the equation the VAT rates if you are VAT registered. And then you'll be able to add a new line using different account codes and amounts, or you can close them down. And then you can pop in a summary field as well. You can choose your bank details to display if you've got more than one bank account that you've chosen on ClearBooks. And then if you're happy, you can save and send, which will take you then to an email format, so you can add any additional documents. Otherwise, you can just save the invoice, as you can see next to save and send. But firstly, we can view the invoice theme. So you'll be able to see that the logo is on the top left-hand side of the invoice. We have the information of the company, so your information. You'll be able to see the customer information, and the more information that you put in there, you will be able to see like the address and email, for example. We have the summary box just over the input fields. And then you'll see the reference box, all that information that we've inputted, including the total. And at the bottom, when we've added a bank account, the details will be able to be displayed when sending that invoice across. So if you're happy with that invoice, you can save and send, or you can just save it. And in this case, we'll select save. And what this does is once you've saved an invoice, it will create an unpaid invoice on the system. So it will raise it on the system as unpaid. So a little bit later on, we'll be able to see that when you bring in the transactions, you'll be able to match it against that invoice to mark it as paid. You can also create a quote if you're a business that wants to send or needs to send any quotes, which is also under the Sales and Quotes tab. And then you could just create a quote, and you'll be able to, again, enter the customer information, the type of quote, and you'll be able to enter in the description like you would as on an invoice, and then the account code, and the unit price, and you can add more lines again, just like you would with an invoice. And then as you can see, we've got a draft quote, which looks very similar to a preview version of a sales invoice. And then you can save and send that quote when you're happy with it. And you can then choose to email that or add any other information via an email format. And then you can just send that quote across. This is what they then look like when a customer picks up that quote. They'll be able to then accept or reject that quote. So in this case, we'll accept the quote. Once the quote has been accepted, you'll receive an email as well when the customer has accepted, it will tell you. But you will be able to see that there is an accepted tab within the quote section. And then you can go in and create an invoice from that accepted quote. And then just like creating an invoice, once you're happy, it then marks as unpaid. Now we'll head to the purchases side of ClearBooks, and we have the purchases tab at the very top. And we have bills inbox and bills. So firstly, we'll go into bills. So you can create manual bills if required. And you can see it's a very similar format to creating a sales invoice. Otherwise, if you are a business that has many receipts on your desk, you might find that the auto bills feature will be very helpful. Via auto bills, you can drag and drop any files. So you can drag and drop any bills that get sent to you. So you can drop them into ClearBooks by auto bills, and you can also email them across as well. So if you do receive any emails of bills, you can send them across using a unique email address. Alternatively, you can also download the ClearBooks mobile app. In doing so, you can take photos of any receipts. So you can just scan that QR code on the right-hand side, and then you can open up your app and it will just take photos, and you can take as many as you like as well. As an example, I'm on the app right now, and I can click the plus button, and then I can send photos to Bill's inbox. And here I have a couple of receipts on my desk, and then I can just simply take a photo after another. So when I go back to auto bills, we have a ready for review section. At first, they'll analyse and then drop into the ready for review section. So a couple of receipts have already been uploaded. So we have the Wix one I've taken a photo of, which I can then go into. And then the OCR technology picks up the supplier name and the date. I can also choose to edit the supplier as well if I wanted to. And then that will remember for next time when I take a photo of another Wix receipt. I can then enter in the description. No matter what description I enter, the account code will then be suggested using AI. As you can see there. And it also translates the price as well. And if I'm happy with that, I can just save that bill and it will take me to the next bill to review. A very crinkled receipt, as you can see, but it has picked up HomeSense. And you'll be able to see all of the other bills in the ready for review section. And when you've saved a bill, it will generate a PUR number. So when we have done the invoice, it would have an INV number. But whether we've created a bill manually or used the auto bills feature, it will create a PUR number on the system. If you want to look at auto bills in more detail, then please see our links on our YouTube channel. Next up, we'll head to the Money tab and Bank Accounts. So now we can then bring the transactions into ClearBooks and match them against any of the bills raised on the system or any of the invoices raised on the system. When you go to Money Bank Accounts, you can add account and you can be able to see all the different account types you can add, including cash account, director's loan account, etc. The more bank accounts you'll add, you'll see in the list form here. And you can then select the bank account in question. And there are different ways of bringing in transactions into ClearBooks. So you can create manual transactions, or you can import them via a CSV file. Otherwise, the easiest option is to set up a bank feed. And you can just add feed. And we work with a third-party provider called Plaid. If we click continue, you'll be able to see all the banks that are supported. So all UK banks. You simply select the account, you can type it in, and then it will suggest, in this example, Metro Bank. And then ClearBooks will essentially link up with your online banking. Your transactions will come through up to 4 times a day, but it does depend on the number of transactions that you have on the day. And every 90 days, due to law, the bank feeds will drop, and then you can just re-authenticate every 90 days. But your transactions will come through in total there, and you'll be able to see all the different imports created, whether it's a CSV file or automatic bank feeds. You'll see all the dates and the source of the type of bank feeds that have come in. Then you'll be able to see the totals to explain. And we have the total right there. And you can click into all the transactions that have come through via your online banking. So all in chronological date order. And it will tell you if it's money out or money in. I can select any transaction as well. So it will highlight this transaction in blue. And then I can search for that contact. If I've created a bill or an invoice before on the system, the contact will be remembered in this screen. And then once I've selected that contact, I've got a relevant transaction that I can match this against. And then I can just simply select allocate. And then it would appear in my explain tab. So I have 3 that I've explained. And I can click into this eye symbol, which will open up another tab. And then I can actually view any of these invoices. And as you can see, once I've allocated a payment against an invoice or a bill, it marks it as paid. And then it will update the total amount to explain. And then I can just head in and explain another one. So in this case, I've spent £240, it's come through, and I can match it against the bill that I've raised on the system. And that's it. If you are a business that doesn't want to create bills manually on the system or bring them into ClearBooks, or if you don't need to even create sales invoices, you can do everything on one screen. So you can select a transaction, you can either enter a contact on the explain screen, or you can choose from the drop down if you have imported them any other way. But in this case, we can just select this contact, and then you can just simply create new payment. So creating a new payment is money out, and creating a new receipt is money in. In this case, it's a transaction relating to expenditure. So it's create a new payment, and then I can fill out all those necessary fields and then select save. I'll show you again when it relates to a transaction that is income. And here that transaction has been highlighted. I can search that contact if I've used this contact before. And here instead, I can just simply create a new receipt and then fill out all the necessary fields again. And then hit save. When I go into the explain tab again, I can view the payment. And as you can see, I've got a different reference number. So if it is any transaction not relating to an invoice or a bill, then it would have an REC number or a PAY number. If you have frequent transactions that you need to explain and you don't want to do it individually, then you can bulk explain transactions. So you can go to settings, toggle features, tax and bank, import tool, and you can switch on customize import rule creation. In this example, we have 3 transactions. And then we could just go into that transaction. And it's highlighted in blue. And then you can add the contact if it's a new contact. In this case, it's a supplier, and I can save it. And then underneath, there will be an option for me to create an import rule. If I click into this pencil, this is where I'll be creating that rule. So I can have a search containing just that name. Even if there are unique numbers, I can delete that. And then I can fill out these fields again with the contact, the account code, the type of bank transfer or direct debit payment. And then I've created this rule, and you'll be able to see that there is an option where I can save all matches with their total number to explain. So if I'm happy with that, I can just save all matches. As an example, go to money and bank statements, and you'll see all those transactions have been explained right here. So that should save you plenty of time if you have frequent transactions that relate to travel or broadband, etc. It's just a nice, easy way to explain those very quickly. If there's anything that you've been stuck on in the session today, or if you're trying ClearBooks for yourself independently and want to give it a go, then if you are stuck on any page, then all you have to do is select this Need Help button on the top right corner of your screen. There might be some support guides relating to any of the pages that you're on, or you can contact the support team. We're here Monday to Friday, 9 until 5. You can give us a call, or you can send in an email. I hope you've enjoyed the session today. If you need us, do give us a call or email us. I'll be happy to help further.